building, you can see magnificent architecture. The same building that William Randolph Hearst had his Hearst newspapers in. Now, there's a very interesting story behind this building. For many years, developers wanted to put a much taller building on that historic brown structure at the base. And for many, many years, the city of New York said, no, 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 it makes no sense. It's historic. We don't want any change. Finally, they relented. The city relented and allowed them to put up a much better structure and also landmarking the structure underneath. And it's amazing when you see the interior. About 4 stories in the interior are just a lobby. And they've made just the most magnificent building on the exterior. But it was only under the Bloomberg administration that they allowed this. And the Bloomberg administration has been very pro-business, and so too many other administrations. But the Bloomberg administration in New York City was more pro-business than many other administrations. So they were able to get this project going and finish it. And it's a magnificent style on the outside. Very, very futuristic. 55th and 8th Avenue, we'll take this closer look at the building. It's always good to get a view of a building from a distance so that you can put everything into perspective. Because it's nice being up close, but then it's nice taking a look a little bit further away. And it's a beautiful Sunday on September 30th. Beautiful weather in New York, about 70 degrees. Sun is out, blue sky. Makes for ideal conditions to take a look at this building too. Again, from this angle, we'll take an even closer peek at the building itself. Because once you're right next to the building, it has a completely different look and feel about it than if you're a little bit further away. All office space. It was really a great thing for the Hearst Corporation to consolidate their office space, because previously a lot of the magazines and entities were in far-flung locations. So here they were able to consolidate everything. It's the same way Condé Nast consolidated everything in Times Square, in the Condé Nast building. And now what they're doing is in the World Financial Center or the downtown area, they want to consolidate things a little bit more. And a lot of other corporations are now talking about the Hudson Yards because they're able to get everything under one roof. But this allowed the Hearst Corporation to have a lot of their magazine properties in the same location. Of course, publishing business is changing, and it's changing the requirement for space too. So that's still up in the air. That's a work in progress right now due to the internet and due to the changing environment of technology. But this is still a significant building and a significant company. We're right at 56th and 8th Avenue, just a block closer, so you can see a little bit more detail of the base, the famous base of the Hearst building. Now, one of the issues with this Hearst building is the first, the base itself is landmark. So there's limited things that you can do with it. A lot of the restaurants and stores that want to be here are not allowed to put up signage unless they get approval. And the city is really not approving any really big signage that's lit. So there were some establishments that wanted to rent in this building, but they couldn't because they couldn't really advertise who they were or where they were. But you do have a famous firm that's here, it's Balducci's. It's just like Italy, just like Zabar's, but they closed up shop in the village, Greenwich Village area, about 15 years ago. But they did create an outlet here. and boy are they good. Just like Italy, just like Zabar's, quality gourmet food, quality prices. They're like a step above Whole Foods, and a lot of people really love going there. You can see the beautiful ground floor. The lobby inside is really, really great. It's just an amazing lobby. It's just they wanted to make a statement. They wanted to say, this is the Hearst building. And you can see how tall it is. Of course, you're going to have a great lobby, great atrium on the ground floor because you have all this office space and you want to impress the tenants that are there for the tenants that you rent out to and people that are visiting the Hearst Corporation. A closer look of the wonderful exterior of the landmark first part of the building. And of course there will be people who will want to see what the higher levels look like close up too, and we'll end up making that view. And just to remind everyone, we're looking at this from 56th and 8th Avenue. Be remiss to not take a much closer view of the architecture of the landmark part of this building. Just magnificent. The columns, the work. Again, all of this is from a different period of time because there's no way they would put this much work into an exterior today. People are too business-minded today to do that. But many years ago, what they would like to do, they did not just build a building. They tried to create a statement for the owners, a statement for the future as to who the owners were, what their thoughts were, what their intentions were. You can see the beautiful work that they've done on the exterior of the building. And that right there is the entryway, the main entryway for the building. And then once you go in there, it's a beautiful 5-story atrium on the interior. Beautiful inside. More direct view of the entryway to the main lobby. And yes, I know for such a building like this, you would really think the main entryway would be larger and more impressive, but remember, this is a landmark building, so there's nothing they can do with the exterior without a lot of extensive permission, and I think the city of New York at this time would not want to grant them permission to extensively change the entryway, just because they gave them a lot of leeway to put this huge tower on top of this landmark building as it was. So I think the city's viewpoint would be, look, we've done enough. Thank you. Closer view of the entryway to this magnificent lobby that they have for the Hearst building. You can see all the work they put into it. It's just amazing seeing that. 8th Avenue and 57th Street is another view of the Hearst building. And if we look south, you can see all the traffic and all the other buildings in the distance. There's going to be a lot more tall buildings here. It just hasn't developed yet, but that will happen very, very soon. It's happening on the west side of Manhattan, and right near 57th and 11th Avenue, there's a huge development. So a lot of these tall buildings are going to start to appear around here. One of the problems is obtaining the rights to build. So a lot of the smaller buildings around here are owned by speculators themselves, who will not sell unless they are the ones developing. Like there, for example, a number of smaller buildings that are probably owned by various speculators who, in their own minds, choose not to sell unless they are the ones doing the developing, because there's so much money in that. And it's right next to the Hearst building, so it's just going to be a beautiful chance to put up new buildings. As we look more closely at the rest of the building, it could be enjoyable to see a more close-up view of what the top looks like. And for the aficionados of development, we'll take an even closer view. Of course, this is an already developed building, but it's always nice to take a close view of what a building is like, how they created it, what went into it. And this just allows that. Again, another angle of the beautiful architecture that they have created from a long, long time ago. And again, as I said before, this is unusual. You do not have this kind of architecture in modern times. It's just that it's just too expensive to maintain. It wouldn't make sense. Everyone is much more business-minded these days, and the cost of labor is much higher today than it was 100 years ago. And it's convenient that there's a subway entrance actually in this building, in the Hearst building. And that subway entrance is right there. You can see right near the entryway of the building itself is the subway entrance too. So it makes it very convenient for the tenants of the Hearst building and for the workers and employees of the Hearst Corporation.